Hi, thanks for joining us. The video you're about to watch is a recording of Durham Public School seniors participating in Riverside High School's PLTW engineering program. These seniors are enrolled in a capstone course known as Engineering Design and Development, appropriately referred to as EDD. EDD is a research and development course designed to challenge students with the rigorous tasks of determining and justifying a problem, and then developing and creating a novel yet viable solution. Over the past 4 weeks, these young women and men have worked tirelessly to justify a problem they believe is valid and worth solving. There have been many sleepless nights by both students and their instructor. They began by sorting themselves into teams based on their interest in topic areas of which they individually researched and then presented on during the first 4 days of class. These dedicated students immediately sought out a variety of professionals to spark them along their path to success, writing professional emails to organizations and individuals they deemed most important to their problem, their research, and their goals. Each team has begun to determine who the best people are to support them as mentors and experts. As they researched their markets, they discovered who their competitors are. They determined their stakeholders, and they even polled their consumers and end users. But their tasks did not stop there. They have also developed the technical reports for the first 3 elements and the beginnings of the next 2 elements necessary for their portfolio. And just think, they only have 9 more elements to go. Some teams have gone as far as creating electronic portfolio websites, while others have extensively organized their work in digital storage sites. But all of the teams have taken the time to create a thorough presentation of their first proposal. They have worked around the clock at beginning the design process that will bring their creative solutions to fruition. All of their work will be completed virtually during the 2020 fall semester in the midst of the COVID-19 pandemic. Their tasks and work are unprecedented. For the remainder of the semester, our wonderful students will work towards deciding on the best solution, attempting to develop and create a prototype, and continue presenting in a very similar fashion during milestone proposals like the one you're about to watch. Without further ado, it brings me great pleasure to present to you the Umbrella Academy and their project proposal.
Almost everyone uses an umbrella at some point in their lives, but most people don't stop to think about what actually goes into an umbrella and the problems that may arise from umbrella usage. This is the Umbrella Academy, and we are comprised of Thomas Alling, Aiden Eamon, Ben Patton, Nick Seifert, and Elliot Umbarger. And we learned way too much about umbrellas while trying to solve their problem.
So at the start of this project, our team was more focused on what we thought were the important issues, like fixing mechanical stuff, umbrellas flipping in the wind, things like that. But as we did research, we started to realize that really one of the biggest problems is waste of umbrellas. Not so much a problem with usage, but that umbrellas are thrown away at ridiculous rates and waste is becoming a huge issue. We looked at other solutions and they did touch on this, but we felt like we could do a lot more.
350,000 tons. This is the amount of waste produced by umbrellas that are unnecessarily thrown out every year. Now, we have used this before, equating to 25 Eiffel Towers, but 350,000 tons or 700 million pounds puts more into perspective how much waste is actually created by umbrellas. Most of the components in standard umbrellas, such as nylon, stainless steel, and fiberglass, are very harmful to the environment in their production and are non-biodegradable and harmful in their disposal. Fiberglass is recyclable. However, recycling in and of itself is not the most environmentally friendly due to its large use of electricity and the fact that that electricity has to come from more often than not fossil fuels.
So when we're looking at the market, we started thinking like which geographic area would be most useful for us to sell our product to. So naturally we thought places with the most rain. because when it rains more, you'll need the umbrella more than you would in places where it doesn't. But as we continue to do research, we found that excluding the US and the UK, most of the world uses umbrellas more prioritizing sunlight rather than rain. So it turns out that even if it's a place that doesn't have rain, it's going to have a lot of sunlight. You're going to have one or the other. So our geographic area is basically any populated place, and especially countries where umbrellas are used at a very high rate and thrown away at a very high rate, such as Tanzania and Japan, where almost every person in that country has 3.3 umbrellas per person. So rain or shine, a lot of countries around the world will use an umbrella. So who will pay for our product? So when we were looking at the users and the buyers for our product, we came to the conclusion that most of the time they are one and the same. The only time that a user is, or the only time that a buyer is not also a user is when companies buy those cheap umbrellas for their employees, like as a memento that has their logo on it and everything. But most of the time, it's regular consumers who are buying an umbrella for personal use or for use for a friend or a child. So we decided to focus on the users, which is why we found our survey to be so important.
Prior solution attempts. If we found this problem with umbrella waste, then others out there must have also found this problem, which is why we dove in to finding other attempts at solving our problem of umbrella waste. We managed to find 4 solutions that were fairly similar at attempting to solve this problem. And we gathered information for the product specifications for each of these 4 umbrellas. And we looked at customer reviews to give both an objective information and subjective information. To evaluate each of these umbrellas, we use 7 categories and the information provided. The Brelli umbrella is a fully biodegradable umbrella that uses a patented biofilm on the canopy and fully bamboo for the shaft and ribs. This umbrella, however, its downside is that it costs a lot of money. The EcoVerse umbrella has 2 canopies, which allows for it to be more resistant to wind. However, all the rest of these are not biodegradable, they're just recyclable. And these 3 did make good use of using recycled materials in the production to cut down on environmental harm in their production. However, they're still recyclable, and that is not nearly as friendly to the environment as being biodegradable. We then used a decision matrix to determine which solution worked better in each of 7 categories. We assessed cost, durability, eco-friendly waste, resistance to wind, eco-friendly production, aesthetics, and ease of use. These are the averages that we got from each team member in our group, rating each design for each category. At the end, all of the scores were added up and rounded to the nearest integer to give us a total sum showing us what the best overall solution is. This matrix is very helpful because it'll allow us to see the pros, but also the cons of each design. This allows us to innovate off of what these designs did well when developing our solution and look to cover the shortcomings that these designs had when developing our solution. Looking at these solutions, we're able to see 3 main areas where our potential product could compete. And our competitive advantage could be in that cost, durability, and eco-friendliness are not fully covered by any of the designs. These designs either have 1 or 2 of them, but none of them have an affordable cost, good durability, and environmental friendliness. So our design looks to solve all 3 of these problems while solving the problem of waste from umbrellas.
So when doing research on the prior solutions that were already out there. We looked at patents that had already been made for biodegradable slash waste reducing umbrellas. And the first one we found is the disposable umbrella, or patent US 200801212557A1. This was Brelly's patented design for their umbrella, the one that is fully biodegradable. It is modeled after the traditional Oriental style of umbrella, and it uses bamboo for the shaft and the ribs, and also its patented canopy on the top of it. When looking at this patent, we said, yes, it's good on the biodegradable and its ability to cut down on waste. However, it is quite expensive, so it's not quite as out there for everyone. The next one, the Japanese Ecobrella, or patent JP3154219U, is a standard foldable umbrella that's parts are more easily detachable in order to allow for the still functioning parts of a broken umbrella to be reused in a new umbrella. So if a rib were to break on the umbrella and the other ribs were still intact, they could remove the other ribs and then put them on a new umbrella, or put a new rib in altogether to the umbrella in order to fix this problem.
After assessing prior solutions, we went to look at design specifications and what criteria and constraints we had to work with while producing a design. To do this, we first had to figure out who's actually defining what specifications we need. And we first looked at stakeholders. And what we found that with umbrellas, stakeholders are mostly the customers, as they are the ones all paying for the umbrellas, and manufacturers are not having as high of production costs as, say, automobiles. We gathered information on what customers said through survey that we sent out from one of the assignments that we were working on. The survey showed us that cost was very important to consumers, as most consumers preferred $10 to $24 for their umbrella cost. Now, $10 to $24 is very cheap, and as you'll see later, it's difficult for us to produce, or it will be difficult to produce a fully eco-friendly design at such a cheap price. However, the survey also showed us other areas that consumers were very held in high regard, such as performance as well as environmental friendliness. We then developed a list of specifications that defined what our product needs to have to be a viable solution. We made a table of them here, and in our proposal, it is more longer laid out in paragraphs. And this table is listed in order of priority from the most important criteria down to the one that's less important. First, we start with performance. And in the end, we need something that'll actually replace the wasteful umbrella. And so it must be able to repel rain and sunshine. Then we had legal and safety issues, which are very important because we don't want to hurt people with our umbrellas and then potentially get sued. After those two, which are kind of a staple for any product, we had environmental sustainability, which is actually solving our problem statement and making a positive impact on the environment. All of the rest of these help contribute and are derived from looking at the customer answers to the survey and from looking at prior solutions, such as the ergonomics and size and weight. We looked at prior solutions to determine what would be a good size for an umbrella. In the end, we decided that aesthetics were not nearly as important for our umbrella than most of the other categories, which is why it's ranked so low, since our umbrella needs to just, or our product needs to look presentable and usable by consumers, though it doesn't need to be the most pretty thing out there.
So our last two components, the first one was our STEM use, or science, technology, engineering, and math. So this section of the project was very research heavy. It's where we figured out what our project was going to be about. We figured out what all the other solutions were and how the market would look at our product so far. So two of our main uses of STEM were during our online research and our citing of all of the sources that we had. This uses a whole lot of technology and engineering as well as we were going through the entire design process. Matrices was another big one. That's how we decided which problem statement we would go with. It's also how, as shown before with our prior solutions, it's how we decided what we would prioritize in our design specifications. Graphic organizers were also used throughout our project so far, which uses lots of science and technology, as we have made many graphic organizers, and we have used helpful technologies such as Jamboard and Google Sheets to create those organizers. Final component F was viability. So we had to consider, after we've done all this research, is our project, our product actually viable? So we looked at both, is it viable in the market and viable in our projected product lifecycle? In the market, we do definitely believe that there is a space for our product there, as there are, as stated previously, most of the other umbrellas cover two of those three main categories of durability, quality, and cost efficiency, as well as the actual biodegradable aspect as well. So we seek to be as high quality as we can while also still being cost efficient, so that our target market, which is families that make less than $125,000 a year, would be able to buy this product and would consider buying this product without just overlooking it because it is so expensive. On our product life cycle, we made sure to expand this out so that we had a plan or a projected plan if we were to ever actually make this product. Our main two problems that we have with the life cycle still is in our resource extraction and our manufacturing. This would definitely be our least sustainable, least environmentally friendly parts of our life cycle, as both of these require lots amounts of energy, but we do plan to make most of the components of the umbrella by hand if we were to make it. So that will cut down on our manufacturing costs. But there are still some things like the canvas, which we would mostly be making out of petrochemicals and certain microorganisms that would still produce CO2 and other harmful chemicals to the environment. And here we'd also like to thank Mr. Davidson for providing us with lots of help, as well as our mentors, Brian Hess, Lillian Montgomery, and our other mentor as well, because they have provided lots of help to us and advice as well that we have implemented throughout our project as a whole. So thank you.
As we have found throughout this process of creating a project proposal, the problem that we went with was not as originally expected. And as said earlier, we learned more about umbrellas than we ever thought we would, or probably ever wanted to. However, we found a very important problem, and what we think is a very good problem. And we've gathered a great well of knowledge to draw from when developing a solution in the next phase of our process. Thank you all for listening to our presentation. If you have any questions, we have, I assume, 5 minutes to take questions.
How much was the Brelli umbrella?
The Brelli was, I believe, $66 to $88, depending on the size or the design that you printed on the Brelli. So very expensive for an umbrella.
Would you consider these being a contributing factor to pollution and umbrella statement?
Yes, it's an umbrella statement about umbrellas.
Fair enough.
Okay, so I've got a couple of things here. First of all, great presentation, nice slides, looks good. Thank you all for looking incredibly professional. 3.3 umbrellas per person. I thought at first when you said that sounded a little ridiculous, but then I think back to what we actually have as umbrellas, and we have in the United States and North Carolina 3 umbrellas in this house, which is actually pretty much right on spot. I think I even for a while had a hat that was an umbrella. I don't know if you've ever seen. I mean, I know it's gimmicky and all, but I did. It was an umbrella and used it for a few things.
For reference, the U.S. is at 1.8 umbrellas per person.
Oh, so I have too many umbrellas.
3.3.
And
Well, if you divide it between your wife and you, then it
that's
evens
also
out.
true. Yeah, that is true. And in fact, we both brought one umbrella into our relationship when we started. And I like a particular type. She likes the foldable. I like the stick. She likes a small one, it's leopard print. And I like a big one that's red and black. Okay, so the big thing that I wanted to ask or point out is it seems like if you're going to go biodegradable, if you're going to go for something that's eco-friendly, you really need to be looking at biology. You need to be looking at animals or plants that resist water being absorbed or that allows water to flow off of them. And the first thing that pops into my head is right outside my window here, or outside my wall here, is a gigantic plant. It's called an elephant ear. I don't know if you've ever seen these before, but they're coated in something that plant creates naturally that just flows that water right off. I mean, it beads up and just flows right off of it. You could use a giant, I mean, there are some of those elephant ears that we have that are almost the size of my body on this big plant. And if that was an umbrella, it would work pretty effectively. Those are pretty strong leaves, if you will. So I certainly think you ought to look into that. Have you done any research into umbrellas that already have that as not necessarily elephant ears, but have looked into what some of those chemicals are that are used on that? Is that been any kind of research done yet?
Beyond petrochemicals being combined with certain microorganisms, I don't think we have. Most of the umbrellas that we're looking at, or basically all of them, have used some kind of plastic or patented biodegradable substance, but nothing that is that plant-like.
Okay. What's Jamboard?
Jamboard,
Yeah.
I'll let Aiden explain.
Jamboard is a program available with Google Drive where it allows you to put ideas down and make connections, make a mind map, basically. We used it for our knowledge of the marketplace assignment and to help create a graphic organizer to show the users and buyers. We had Nick go back in and make that design, that graphic organizer, look way more pretty. It is on that slide. So this one here, we originally created it on Jamboard using different bubbles and then putting an arrow between each of the spots. However, it didn't look the neatest. And so we had our graphic designer, Nick Seifert, go back in and make it look very nice and pretty.
Okay. I'm going to forego any other questions in case there's some questions from the rest of the peanut gallery here. Any other thoughts, suggestions, comments from anyone else?
All right. Thank you, everyone, for listening to our presentation. And thank you, Mr. Davidson, for your intuitive questions and suggestions.